Alright, good morning YouTube. In today's video, I'm going to be reviewing the intermediate version of Ivysaur's aesthetic routine. So, this was a request by a couple subscribers, so if there are any programs that you want me to review and give my feedback on, please let me know and I'd be more than happy to review them for you so that way you can see my thoughts on how the program actually works. So, Ivysaur, he has a I think it's a beginner program called 4x4x8 or something like that, or 4x4 to 8 or something of that is extent. So I have it pulled up right here. I think I did a review on it already, and if I haven't, that will be coming up in the future. Now he made this in response to the typical 5x5 programs that exist out in the world. So the thing is with any program, it's not like one thing that I've heard said is it doesn't matter what you do, just make it work. And that's true. Like, generally speaking, as so long as there is a thought process behind what you're doing, so long as there is progression with what you're doing, so long as there is a vision down the road where you start and where you end is different, then you're probably doing things right. Now, also when it comes to programming, you also have to recognize that it's going to be the mix, manipulation, and combination of heavy, medium, and light intensities over time, and then ways that you can progress, right? So that's essentially all a program is, with the other things such as the split, the management of recovery, and all that thrown in as well. So he made a novice program, but today we're going to be reviewing the intermediate version of his program. And I just had a very brief look at the program, and generally speaking, I actually find his intermediate program to be better than his novice one. His novice program, at least when I first looked at it, didn't really impress me all that much. But it's mainly due to the fact that when you program for novices, it's almost like there's these unspoken rules that you have to try to abide by, which kind of limits what I think a novice should actually be doing in their routines. But anyway, let's get into the actual program. So day one starts off with a deadlift. This is actually something that I really do like. So if you notice, he has this program. It's a 6-day program. So if you do want to work out 6 days a week, this is a good option. And me personally, if I were to do a push-pull leg program, I would set it up in a way where it's pull-push legs, and I would start out the week with a deadlift. So yeah, if I were to make a push-pull leg program, and actually kind of as a teaser or spoiler, I am making one because it's just such a popular program template, but at the same time I feel like there's so many things generally speaking just kind of wrong with it that I would just want to make a program where it has the least amount of drawbacks, or just manages the drawbacks better to my personal opinions and just what works in my mind, right? But anyway, so with this, you're doing 4 reps, which is great. Like doing sets of 4 on deadlift is it's more than enough. Like, the thing is, the deadlift is one of those movements where, in my opinion, it doesn't need as much volume as other movements. For me and my programming, when it comes to building the deadlift, I like to build the deadlift with lower reps and variations. If I were to get let's say anything above 6 to 8 reps when it comes to the deadlift, I would much rather use a variation. When it comes to actual deadlift itself, I kind of stick to maybe 1 to 5, maybe 1 to 6, just because the thing is, the competition deadlift, your competition deadlift form, it's where you're the strongest, so it's fine to do it in the lower rep ranges because that's where you can lift the most amount of weight. But when it comes to your weaknesses in your deadlift, chances are you would need to use a variation. But here it's totally fine. And if you look at, let's say, his cheat sheet when it comes to this program, the main form of progression is the fact that you're going to be adding sets over time, and I think that's great. So like I mentioned in a lot of my other videos, I like having multiple forms of progression. Tonnage is the easiest one to manipulate because there's 3 variables in that equation. Tonnage, for just to remind you, is sets times reps times weight, or volume times intensity. That is all tonnage is. When you are calculating things in that way, you have three variables that you're now able to manipulate. Most programs only have you look at things in like kind of like isolated terms. So it's like, oh, you're just adding weight every week, or oh, I just want you to aim for this amount of reps or something of that nature, right? You're keeping something constant, but then something else is increasing. Whereas in my programming, I just kind of have like a critical thinking thought process where it's like, okay, now is an appropriate time to add a set. Now is like, I want you to work within this rep range, and then using this weight, once you like essentially master this rep range, you can add weight, but sets will stay constant until it becomes necessary for them to be added in. So generally speaking, when I see programs that use more forms of progression rather than just weight, that's typically a good thing. Let's see. So anyway, back to the spreadsheet. Sorry. Okay, so here, 4 sets or 4 reps with 4 sets, and then 5 and then 6 over there. Following that up, you have chin-ups. So since this is an intermediate program, doing reps on chin-ups, like 8 reps, like I think is okay. I mean, the thing is with body weight movements, even for like, let's see, the only time where I think it's appropriate to put like a rep cap on things is if you're a pretty advanced lifter when it comes to chin-ups, which most people just aren't. So when it comes to the chin-up, I'd much rather just see AMRAP. Like, unless you are doing weighted movements, and generally speaking, I don't really recommend you do weighted chin-ups unless you can do sets of 10 or a single set of 15 to 20. At that point, it's no longer efficient for you to just bang out sets of 15 or 20, because it's not like for example, if on our bench press we have a weight where we can do 15 to 20 reps, it's no longer efficient to stick with that same weight. It becomes more efficient to add a little bit of weight on the bar, get back into the maybe 6 to 15 rep range or something of that nature, and then go from there. The same thing applies for the chin-up. So once you can do like 15 to 20 bodyweight chin-ups, go into the weighted chin up and then start using these numbers. But the number of people who are actually at that level is extremely low. So for me personally, I would just put AMRAPs on all this and just like kind of measure across time like how you do. Now, another thing that I will add when it comes to chin-ups is, because you're doing an AMRAP, the one thing I will say is I don't want you going to failure. So as many reps as possible. Really, to me, that just means as many reps as you can, with the reps being fast. Like, you don't want to strain for your chin-ups and pull-ups. Like, in my opinion, that's just not productive. Especially because you want to make sure that this movement doesn't present more, like too much of a recovery cost, that it detracts from other things that you're doing in the program. And generally speaking, what I found for myself, what I found for a lot of my clients, is when I tell them stop the set when the set gets hard, they do fine. They, week to week, they still make progress. They don't feel as sore in their back. But I also have them doing chin-ups very regularly throughout their week and throughout their training, so it helps them continue doing chin-ups more frequently throughout the week. Their back grows, their chin-up numbers get improved, and all that is taken care of. So let's see. Next, we have the bench press day. So on the bench press day, what I would recommend here, it's still 4 reps, and that's fine. But let's see. He does have a second bench press day where you are doing higher reps, which is good because you want to have a mix of high intensity and higher volumes for the bench press. The bench press is one of those movements where it really benefits from having both. It's not, whereas with the squat and deadlift, some people can get away with just doing like a fairly heavy squats, fairly heavy deadlifts, and they're going to find their strength and muscular size is going to increase. But for the bench press, most people who hit a, like, let's say a plateau, most of the time it's because they're not mixing high intensities with lower volumes and higher volumes with lower intensities. Generally speaking, it's due to the fact that they're not mixing it is why they plateau. But anyway, let's go back into bench 2. So 4 reps, that's fine, but you're only doing 3 sets, so 3 sets of 4, probably doing something like 80% of your one max. That's cool, and then you get a lot more volume through the incline press. And this is okay. So this is something that I do in like a lot of my programs as well, where I have your main bench press variation followed by a variation. So with 4 reps, then 8 reps, that's good. Me personally, I would much rather see something where it's just a bit closer to the strength range. So that's just a personal bias of mine. So I mean, 8 is fine because when I kind of do my strength days, generally speaking, just as a personal thing and probably as something that has to do with the fact that just something I read a long time ago, I don't really go above 10 reps because on this specific day, I'm trying to send a message to the body like, get stronger. Like, that's why I call it a strength day. Everything that I'm doing on this day is for the purpose of strength. Now, hypertrophy is going to occur because strength does provide a hypertrophic stimulus to the body. But generally speaking, everything that you're trying to give to the body is a signal, get stronger. So here, I would much rather stick to a bit lower, but if I'm going to, but 8 is fine because, like I said, I don't really go above 10. But usually when it is 6 to 10, it's usually on something like the accessories. When it comes to the supplemental movement, I am more inclined to still use something like 3 to 6. 4 to 8 is fine. So 8 is good, like, but it's just something I do want to let you know. Then here, 12 and 12, that's fine as well. I mean, he has you do like, so on these ones, because they're written in black, like if you look at the cheat sheet that he had on the previous page, if it's black, it's you're doing an AMRAP and then change weight as needed, which is fine because, you know, for accessories, like that's how it really should be anyway. Accessories is one of those things where it's not like you need to periodize your tricep extensions, you know. But let's see. Next, you go into your squat day, and you have squat and overhead press, followed by some shoulders. So basically, it's a shoulder day with squats, and that's fine. I have no issues with that. Like, I'm not the, like, you know, I'm not the biggest fan of lower body training, to be completely honest. Now, this does raise some issues though, because there's no isolation movement for the legs, really. So back extensions are a great movement. Hamstring curls are a great movement. And maybe some type of leg press or hack squat just to get a little bit more volume. Honestly, like, let's see. Yeah, like I would do like a super, like where it has calf raises, just do a superset where you're on the leg press as well to get a little bit more quad volume. Because then otherwise you're only getting your quad volume from your squat. And, you know, if you are trying to have a more balanced physique, it does benefit you to do more volume there. Now, me, just because I hold most of my fat and my legs have just always been big, that's why I kind of come from the bias of not really doing too much on my legs because they're already big. But for other people, no, the chances are they want to build their legs. So here, I would recommend that you do like leg press and calf raise, hack squat, calf raise, something of that nature, right? As well as throwing in hamstring curls and back extensions somewhere into this program. Personally, I would put that either in this day or the day one. It's very easy to throw in. It's very low impact. After that, let's see, chin-ups, bench, barbell rows, incline press. Is that a no? So one thing I'm really appreciative of is the fact that most of the days in this program do not repeat. Chin-ups, so it's like an upper, just like an upper body day. So chest and back in one day, then you kind of go back into squat, overhead press, and calves. So if you're wondering why he doesn't go back into, like, let's say the deadlift, is because like you just squatted the day before. You just tired out your posterior chain, and that's why he made that decision. Now he does include the barbell row, which is like something I would also include as well. If I would do a pull push leg split, I would have deadlifts on day one, and then on day 4, which is the return to the pull day, I would have a barbell row day. Now, it's very important to note that it's something that I feel like most novices do have to build up to. They really need to just make their low back made of steel. Like they need to be doing back extensions. They need to be like doing variations that target the low back. Like that's very important that they do. Barbell rows will help do that, but at the same time, like if they are noticing like low back pain, they would have to like kind of dial back onto it and then wait until they acclimate better. Then same thing, squats, return to the program after a day. So I mean, there's not really much you can do there, quite honestly, but let's see. There is a rest day that I'm not seeing. So yeah, so after this day, you take a rest day, and then yeah, so day 4 is a rest day, followed by 5 and 6. So then, okay, then that's fine. My bad, I didn't read that, or I couldn't see that. So hopefully you don't make that same mistake and just go straight into the next day. So this is a 5-day split. Okay, I thought it was 6. My bad. Let's see. But yeah, squats. Now you're doing so here because you did squats for low reps. You're doing it for high reps here. Because you did the overhead press for high reps here. You're doing it for low reps here, and then calves and curls. So overall, fine. Like you'll get in and out of the gym with this. So quite honestly, I think this is just a really good beginner, like maybe late beginner program. The only thing really intermediate about it is the fact that it's just really high frequency. Um, but generally speaking, me personally, I would consider this to be a beginner program. Um, Especially if the goals are more like for more so for hypertrophy. Like there's nothing really about this that kind of tells me, oh, like a beginner can't handle this. Like generally speaking, if a beginner just like if the weights used in a program just get lighter, then most programs are really just beginner programs. Now the only time where this would be, let's say, not feasible would be like, for example, like what would make something an intermediate program is if it's having you do something like regularly going up to 90% of your max. Beginners don't need that. If it has you doing something like cluster sets for deadlifts, beginners don't need that. They need to have more touches with the bar. If it has you do something like can't really think of it off the top of my head right now, but I'm sorry, but like generally speaking, there's very little in this program that actually says if a beginner does it, they're gonna blow up. Or like, and blow up, and I don't mean like in a good way, like you're gonna get a lot of muscle. I mean in a bad way, like you're literally gonna like destroy yourself. um but yeah, generally speaking, like the other issue that I have with this program is the fact that it is very much using, like, for example, this is all compound movements. Like for, so maybe that could be something for intermediates if you were to use entirely compound movements for the entire training session. So that's something that makes this an intermediate program, I guess. But one thing I will say is the fact that if you push yourself for, so let's where's this day? So if you push yourself for these two movements, right? You go one rep in one RIR, one rep in reserve from failure, and you really push yourself. You're using heavy weights. Like, how fatigued are you going to be? And look, he has you going incline press, so it's a good thing I looked deeper. He has you doing 4 reps here, so that means this is where you're going to be pushing intensity, but you're doing it at the very end of your program. Like, how does that make sense? Like, you usually want to open the workout with your highest intensity because that's where you're the freshest, and then like do higher reps when you're starting to get more fatigued, because then you're able to get more out of less weight. So it's a good thing I checked that out. But here, like, one thing I would make a change for is instead of barbell rows, do seated cable row. Instead of like you can do incline press, but like I said, like move this up there, do dumbbells here, so like that way it's like not as taxing on your recovery, and then you'll go from there. Like that's a much better change onto this program, just because it doesn't make sense to do your most intense workout or most intense exercise at the very end of the program. It also, if you are going to try to manage recovery a bit better, I would recommend you do like some dumbbell bench, because you mean like you're doing for 8 reps on it, so his thought process is probably something like this is for hypertrophy, and dumbbells are very useful for hypertrophy. The same thing here, like do seated cable rows just because your back might be fatigued. You might not be used to doing so much back work, and it'll help just build you up. Let's see, squat, overhead press. It's fine that this comes in after the squat, because you know, like this kind of like primes you up, kind of like warms up your your entire body, and it's a completely different movement pattern. But here it doesn't really make that much sense because you benched for high reps. Your pressing muscles are fatigued, and now you're going to go into it with fatigued muscles. So that's why here it's more forgivable, but here it is not. Let's see. So yeah, throw in some low back work, throw in some direct hamstring work like hamstring curls. But other than that, this program is decent. Not perfect, but decent, you know. And like one of its saving graces is the fact that you're kind of doing you're doing fairly little each day. Like there's nothing about this workout that's like super high volume. Like it's just a high frequency program. But the thing is, like as a result, the volume is pretty low, and the intensity is modulated to some extent. I mean, you choose a weight and then you just kind of progress on it until following these like rules. Like there is a cheat sheet where basically it's just like, you know, a Flow chart, yeah. So very first cycle only. You just do your working sets. Add 5 pounds to red lifts, 10 pounds to blue lifts. If you complete all the sets successfully, you add weight. Then you keep repeating that process over and over and over. And if you do not complete them successfully, you just repeat that cycle. You just keep repeating it until you do. So I mean that's fine. That is something that I do in my programs. But one thing I would say is like there's just like for me, right? Maybe I'll try to make a flow chart like this to kind of show my thought process. But generally speaking, it's like okay, sets and reps are fairly constant. Add weight into while you can. Then weight stagnates and you stagnate at a specific rep range. Okay, let's modify the reps. Let's have you like so. For example, let's say we start you out in the 3 to 6 rep range, right? You keep adding weight until the 3 to 6 rep range gets like essentially like the next time you add weight for some reason it's just too heavy for you to go to 6. All right, let's bring it down to 2 to 5 because chances are you hit 5 and you are probably hitting 2. So then it's just like, okay, are you able to progress in the 2 to 5 rep range, adding weight for a couple more weeks because you're now in the 2 to 5 rep range? Cool. Or maybe instead of that, we do like, all right, we're doing 3 sets of 3 to 6. Let's do 4 sets of 3 to 6, and then maybe that restarts that process of adding weight over time. Like, that's why I like having sets times reps times weight as my measurement for tonnage because there's 3 variables to increase over time. But generally speaking, like this is better than most programs because here it has you like thinking about when are you going to actually progress, and it has you doing it in ways that rely on 2 different systems: reps per set and the actual weight that you use. So that's a lot better than most programs where it's just like, okay, like I have I have created this formula where you're going to start at this percentage and you're going to end up here, I promise, and then see how that actually goes. But other than that, this program is okay. It's not perfect. Like I'm inclined to give it like maybe a C plus. Like there's no like big glaring issues of it, but also I might just be, let's see. So if anything, I would want to put more back work just because you know my opinions on high frequency back training. But overall, it's like you're hitting everything at least twice a week. I can't really complain about it. That there, it's kind of a nitpick to throw that in. Like throw that in. Generally speaking, because it's like you're only doing so much each day, right? And you're training a lot of days, so it's kind of minimalistic in a sense. But all at the same time, like it's covering all your bases. So it's kind of difficult to say that this thing is just like an affront to nature or just wrong. But at the same time, it just could be better. Like there's some changes that you can make, and also it's very much banking on the fact that you feel good as a result of this. I mean, let's see, barbell rows here. Like I would do barbell rows after the deadlift as a kind of like as a drop set, as a mechanical drop set, as a variation to help build up the deadlift because you're already in that position. You know, the bar's already on the floor. Like you strip off some weight and then do your barbell rows. You're doing 4 reps on it. That builds the deadlift, and then you do chin ups to decompress the spine. Make that change, right? Here, this is much better. This is fine. This is cool, but like yeah, add leg presses here. You know, superset these 2, um, just to save some time. If your low back is fine, cool, do your barbell rows. But one thing I will change is like alternate the position of the incline press and the bench press. Maybe do dumbbells here, and then here, same thing. Like you could easily throw in like some other accessory movements such as the back extension, direct hamstring work, and put it in on this day because this and it would be very because here you have 5 exercises, but here you don't. So just why? Like what is like if you're gonna do that, just be a bit more routine with it, especially when these workouts will not take you that long. Like if you just want to get in get out in 45 minutes, this is a great program. If you want to just like extend that out by 5-10 minutes, which is still getting this done under an hour, like yeah, throw in some direct hamstring work, direct low back work, and go from there. But other than that, this program is a C. If you have any program that you want me to review, please let me know. I'd be more than happy to do so. There is a video coming down the line where I'm going to compare pretty much all the popular 5x5 programs. So strong lifts, starting strength, and much to my dismay, Chagrin, I think that's the inappropriate word. Ice Cream Fitness by our boy Hemingway. So those are all going to be compared coming up, but this was the Ivysaur intermediate program. This is a lot better than his beginner program, in my opinion. So good job. Like, very nice. Very nice. Have a good day.